I often get asked as a VC how we're utilizing AI. Well, today, I'm going to share the top 4 models I'm using today. And based on 2 announcements this week, it looks like I'm about to add 2 more. Welcome to the Headline AI Podcast, where we unpack the latest AI news through a VC lens. And the big announcement this week is AI21 debuts Jamba 1.5. The first time I actually heard of AI21 was actually on AWS Bedrock, where they were sort of releasing their Jurassic models. Now, the big thing that matters about this announcement is the large context window that Jamba 1.5 had. It's 256,000 token. That's double the size of GPT-4o. So what's a context window? A context window for a large language model, it refers to the amount of text the model can consider at once before generating a response for you. So for example, this week, I've been looking at our investment memos. So we have our brilliant investors here at Headline, and they're writing up these reports as to why we want to invest in a startup. There's a ton of useful information. It's about the company, about the team, the good and the bad and the ugly. And unlike a pitch deck, these memos are brutally honest. It documents what you actually need to believe for the startup to become the next unicorn. So these memos are long, and we're pre-processing them, but it takes a ton of time. And so here's the first try I want to look at. If you look at Jamba 1.5, you can see where it really shines. It's the end-to-end latency. These things are fast. And one of the things that I've just felt is, if you look at the output speed and the output tokens, when you start using some of the smaller models or even the older models, you'll find that it just takes a long time for it to respond. And so Jamba 1.5 actually excels at this one thing, which is large context window processing and doing it efficiently. And that's the other thing. Often when you process large documents with large context windows, it seems like that some of the LLMs, they get dumber as the document gets longer. I mean, you gotta imagine there's a lot of text for it to consume, a lot of ideas for it to reason through. And so Jamba 1.5's ability to be able to kind of stay efficient even with large documents is pretty impressive. The other thing that's really interesting about Jamba 1.5 is a feature that they're releasing called citation mode. What it is that often when you're citing information in your response, you want to know what's the source material that it came from. That usually has to be jimmied up by you, the developer, and through some prompting and things like that. But for Jamba 1.5, it actually comes for free. And I think in this transitional period when you're getting a lot of information from the LLMs, you kind of want to know where it came from. And so citation mode is an automatic feature in their document API, and it brings that up to the surface a lot easier. So what are the go-to AI models that I'm using today? Like many people, I'm actually using GPT-4o pretty much every single day. 80% of my searches now happen within GPT-4o. But when I'm writing long documents or I need large amounts of just creative writing, I'm actually turning to Mistral Large 2. Mistral is one of Headline's investment, and it really excels at really good creative writing. We also use GPT-4o Mini here. It's a smaller, cheaper brother to GPT-4o, and we're using it for a lot of quick solutions when we're classifying text, when we're trying to classify a company that we're trying to invest in. For example, in Deep Dive, which is one of our applications, when you upload a CSV, the input headers can be in different languages and currencies. So we're actually using GPT-4o Mini for that. And so it's an AI just to help us choose the best columns inside Deep Dive. And more recently, I have been using the fine-tuned version of GPT-4o Mini. For a lot of our classification projects, we have a lot of data around it. And so it actually is very cheap to train a GPT-4o Mini. And they've just released GPT-4o to fine-tune, not just the mini version. So there's a lot of opportunities there. So those are the main 4: 4o, Mistral Large, 4o Mini, and then fine-tuned 4o Mini. The next headline, I call it the battle for the mini. Nvidia's Llama 3.1, Minitron, 4 billion. Yes, there's a little baby model, the 4 billion model. It's actually a compressed version of the 8 billion model. The idea here is they're using a much, much larger model called a teacher model, 128 billion. And they're teaching the 8 billion model to kind of be the little guy, like the 4 billion. They're fast, you can stick them right on your laptop, and they're near real time. So blazing speeds. 5 days later, Nvidia releases yet another small language model, not 4 billion, but 8 billion. And this is actually based on the Mistral Nemo 12 billion. This is called the Mistral Nemo Minitron 8 billion, okay? Headline is investors with Mistral, I can say that, but I show no favoritism. But this model can fit on an RTX chipset. So your laptops, your workstation can be running it. Now here's a chart. If you look at the Minitron 8 billion, it is pretty much toe-to-toe to the 12 billion model, and it's open source, so that's amazing. Lastly, Jamba had to release their 1.5 mini as well. It came along with the large model that they released. And so now you have that to compete with. I'm curious to know what you're using for your AI models, for your large documents, for your mini documents, for your mini use case. Please share them in the comments below. I'll see you next week.